We're going to go to Alabama versus Georgia. That was huge for Alabama. I had Georgia beating them. I'll be real with you. Bama was 13 for 19 on the third down. Georgia was 2 for 8. It kind of, I don't know what to think because, yeah, that's absurd. How did Alabama have 20 third downs and Georgia only had 8, and it was that close of a game? But Georgia just kept driving down the field. As you can tell by the stats there, Alabama had a tough time. Their drives were a lot slower. Okay. Gunnar Stockton, clean pocket, was 20 for 23, drop back attempts, 13 for 20, 130 yards and a touchdown. So very slow game. He didn't miss a lot of passes, but he didn't get a lot of yards. He didn't have an interception, but there was not much pressure. Wait. Sorry. Yeah. And only you got to do better than that if you're Gunnar Stockton, and if you want to contend in the Big 12. Holy cow! If you want to contend in the SEC, Ty Simpson was 15 for 17 in the middle of the field, accounting for the Ryan Williams drop. That was crucial, but the Alabama box score overall, Ty Simpson was 24 for 38, 280 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Jam Miller, 16 carries for only 50 yards. A slower game and a lot of carries, just didn't have any very big gain of big runs. Isaiah Horton had 5 receptions. Isaiah Horton, Ryan Williams, and Jeremy Bernard all had 5 receptions each. Holy cow, Quinn, I'm losing my mind right now. Isaiah Horton had 65 yards, Williams had 43, and Bernard had 35. Horton had a touchdown. So all the receivers, that shows you that Alabama definitely has some reliable receivers that you can really go to. Ryan Williams, Quinn said that Ryan Williams might not be the best receiver in Alabama, which is a big hot take. But if Ryan Williams isn't doing that, and you have a other receiver who's putting up better stats, that's just a very interesting take, and he is very right, I would say. Gunnar Stockton was 13 for 20, like I said, 130 yards, a touchdown. Chauncey Bowens had 12 carries for 120 yards, 9.9 yards per carry. That's kind of absurd. 4 receptions, 22 yards, and a rushing touchdown. The receivers did not do much. Colby Young, 4 receptions, 60 yards. Zakiah Branch, 3 receptions, 35 yards. And London Humphreys, 1 reception, 9 yards. But Georgia definitely made it interesting. But I feel like Alabama they showed their dominance in that game, especially beating Georgia. I think they had won 33 straight at their place. And it just goes to show that the SEC is completely wide open, and especially with Ole Miss and LSU. For crying out loud, Mississippi State. Why did I just start for crying out loud? Mississippi State, for crying out loud, could win the SEC. There is not going to be a single SEC team that is undefeated in SEC play. That is not even a hot take. No SEC team will be undefeated in SEC play. Not Texas A&M, not Tennessee. Tennessee isn't actually. Not Alabama is. No one will be undefeated. Not a hot take. That's just facts. And it was only week 5. There's still a lot of time for Georgia, but I'm not very nervous for them because the SEC is one of the hardest conferences to play in, if not the hardest. So Georgia fans, don't be scared just yet, but Alabama fans are definitely hype after that win, and they're not really – they moved on from the Florida State game.
Yeah, so this game, there's not really a ton – I wouldn't be worried if you're a Georgia fan, and except for this one aspect of the game. Statistically, according to PFF, they have the worst pass rush in the entire Power 4, third worst in the entire FBS. And they don't have a sack by a defensive lineman. They have 4 sacks on the season, all by linebackers. Ty Simpson had a clean pocket on 35 out of his 40 dropback attempts. And he took the advantage of it, 23 for 33, 266 yards, and 2 touchdowns. However, there was no pressure on Gunnar Stockton, and he didn't take advantage of it either. 30 for 20, 130 yards, and 1 touchdown. So Georgia, I don't really know what to say. I just don't think that they have a good pass rush. It's nothing you can really coach in. It's still early in the season. I guess you can, but they've played Georgia and Tennessee, who, granted, Tennessee has a pretty good offensive line. Alabama's offensive line, while inconsistent, they still have a guy like Caden Proctor. And this Georgia pass rush, they need to get going. They didn't. Ty Simpson is one of the best quarterbacks with a clean pocket, and he showed exactly why. He was elite in the middle of the field. He was 15 for 17 in the middle of the field, including that Ryan Williams drop. So technically he'd be 16 for 17, one incompletion, and then he would have a ton more yards with that Ryan Williams deep ball drop. Ryan Williams, I said this earlier, he's not the best receiver on his team. I think that's Jeremy Bernard. I still believe that, even though he did have a better game. I don't know. Ryan Williams, he's just struggling with drops this year. I don't know why, but we need to see that improved. But for Georgia, the one positive is their running back, Chauncey Bowens. This was his breakout game. He only had 12 carries, but he made the most out of that with 119 yards, 1 touchdown average, 9.9 yards per carry, and he was also reliable in the receiving game, had 4 catches for 22 yards, which was better than some of the wide receivers on Georgia. So ultimately, the stat that told the story, Bama 13 for 19 on third down. They just kept extending drives, slow drives, but they took control. They dominated the time of possession, and Georgia 2 for 8. They didn't have nearly as many third down attempts as Alabama, and when they had the chance to extend their drives, they just didn't do that. So Alabama, they're looking like they put that Florida State loss aside. They're looking a lot different. They're very disciplined. They only had 1 false start the entire game. Kalen DeBoer has got these players ready. And ultimately, if you're an Alabama fan, this is exactly what you want to see. Georgia, I still think they can make a run. It's just going to be hard with those 2 SEC losses this early in the season.